Welcome to Creator Upload, your creator economy podcast. I'm Lauren Schnipper.
And I'm Joshua Cohen.
And one of us is either very hungover, has pink eye, or is très cool parce que can. We're just very French. You decide. But this is a sunglasses episode, and so people can pick their poison.
Do you know why Casey Neistat wears sunglasses in his videos?
Mm-mm.
He's these famous Ray-Bans that got bleached with sand when he was on the shoot. And so now he customizes the Ray-Bans he gets by bleaching them with sand and different types of spray paint.
Totally.
But he wears them on shoots and in his videos because then he doesn't have to look at the camera the whole time.
Exactly.
It's ingenious.
It's amazing. I don't want to look at you.
We should all be doing this.
This is amazing. This is great. So for whatever those three it is, thank God.
But then it looks to the viewer like we're looking at them the whole time, Lauren.
Good, the whole time. I'm like, I'm not looking at, I'm barely looking at you. I'm not doing anything.
But my eyes are closed.
I'm out the door. I am currently sleeping right now. I'm currently unconscious. Anyway, we are fresh back from Cannes. Obviously, we had our awesome episode where we interviewed great people. If you haven't listened to that, please go check it out. But we didn't really get to talk about our real takeaways from Cannes. Josh, you want to start? Like sort of the high level for you at Cannes, the vibes?
Well, I'm really interested in what you experienced, Lauren. Like it was your first year there.
It was my first year, yeah.
You got there.
Yep.
And I felt you were a little bit overwhelmed.
I was a little overwhelmed. Yeah, well, it's weird. So VidCon was the same weekend. And so obviously we couldn't go to VidCon. And, you know, VidCon is my jam. I walk in, I know everybody, I know the deal. Dare I say, own the place. You know what I'm saying? Even going to South by, I've been to South by a bunch. Cannes was just like, I had never been. It was very overwhelming about like sort of what to do. And, you know, I wasn't there for very long. So I just kind of like, I did not take a lead on anything. I was like following you and our friend Jamie around. And I was just like, just tell me where to be. I don't know what to do. And, so I learned a lot. I was just like, it was probably shocking to you because I was in a very sort of absorbing, taking it all in mode versus my normal controlling self is probably what you're more, I would imagine, used to. Gonna take a guess. So that was sort of like, yes, that was my general vibe there. But, all this is to say, as it relates to creators, and here's what I'll say. Like, everybody's coming out of Cannes talking about creators of the thing, this and that. I still think we are so far away from that. I mean, I walked into several, so you're on the, I don't know, is it the Palais where you are, where all the, like, different activations are, where you're walking around? Is that what it's called?
That's the Croisette.
The
However you
Croisette.
pronounce it.
The Croisette.
Yeah, the Palais is the convention center.
That's the convention center. Okay, right. So we were recording in the Palais, and then the Croisette was where sort of all the things are. And I walked into several, because we had these press passes, you can kind of go into anything, at least for a little bit. And it wasn't like, I mean, you were looking at, execs from brands and execs from agencies. Like, it's not like I was looking at a bunch of creators. It was not, I don't know. It didn't feel like it didn't feel like VidCon in the sense where it's all about creators. It's everything. I know everybody was kind of talking about creators, and I know that they're going to, keep going forward and sort of doubling down, but it wasn't like, I don't know. I still felt it was a bit of an old school advertising convention from like my outsider sort of point of view.
It's 100% still an old school advertiser convention. I think what the difference was between last year and this year, and ties into that overwhelming feeling you had when you first got there, and you were just like gibberish, English and French. No one knew what was coming out of your mouth.
Okay, you know what? Excusez-moi.
And so I think it aligns with what Ed Davidson said in our interview, which you can check out from our episode last week. He's the head of growth at Cannes Lion, has been at the festival for 11 years plus. The volume of the conversation around creators is what's changed. So last year when I was there, you could kind of wrap your head around everything that was going on creator-wise. Yeah. From all of the events, activations, conversations even, and more. And this year you couldn't. There was just too much. So you had to kind of let go and pick and choose what you wanted to go to. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, we've said this a couple times, we popped into the Creator Awards. So there's a million awards throughout sort of the week. We popped into what was meant to be sort of the Creator Awards, and all of the sort of campaigns that won in this category. I think about 0 of them had creators in them. There was a couple that featured like Reddit, which I guess is like, if you squint, that you could say that's sort of a creator platform. And there was a couple, I think some of them sort of used crowd sourcing for some of the elements of the campaign, which if you, again, sort of squint, you could say like, okay, that's kind of a version of like an individual contributor person that's not in an entity and they are creating things. And so, okay, maybe. But like, it's not, and why is that the case right now? I mean, these were amazing campaigns that we saw, because you got to see a little taste of them when they won their award. And it was just really funny. Everybody gets on stage and takes their picture. It was cute. It was great. There were, other than Andy Jassy, there were no acceptance speeches. So I was like, this is the way to do award shows. And there was great air conditioning there. So 2 thumbs up. But that was very, again, telling as to where they are within this sort of ecosystem.
Well, just to zoom out and give listeners some context about what goes on at the award show. So the reason everyone's there at the Cannes line is because they honor excellence in advertising. And there's maybe like 9 to 11 big categories in which they do that. Those 9 to 11 categories have dozens of subcategories. And in those subcategories, there are also dozens of more subcategories.
Mm-hmm.
And so what started as the Cyber Lions several years ago evolved into the Social and Influencer Lions in 2018. That's one of these subcategories,
Mm-hmm.
which now this last year was called the Social and Creator Lions. And the vast majority of the stuff that's winning in that is still very socially oriented.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of things that you and I would think of, if any things that you and I would think of as creator activations that are winning these yet.
No.
And that's partly because of inertia. That's partly because lots of the work, and by the way, I love that advertisers call the end product the work. Love it. Lots of the work is very heady. And it's created by these big agencies that come together with these big ideas and execute them in big ways.
Yeah.
Creator campaigns just aren't there yet because they're still nascent. They're still developing.
Yeah.
I think as creators get more into the process of conceiving of these campaigns, all the way through the distribution of them,
and working
then we'll
with
start
the
to
agencies,
see more creators in there.
Yeah, and working with
Correct.
the agencies who are conceding some of these. And so that's still, I think we're still early days with that, which I think was evident by everything we were saying. I'll go back, though, to the interview we had with Sarah Potter, who's at Dove, and I just love how they're working with creators. They have this sort of arsenal of creators that they kind of, really trust, and that's how to do it. That's how to do it with these old school brands. Like Dove is an old school brand owned by Unilever. Like they're not going to just give up that brand, to anybody, So you have to really work with, creators that you trust. There was a really interesting campaign that won with Coca-Cola where which I loved, which is like, this has been going on with our industry for a while. I remember years ago, like Amazon, I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson, he saw that there was all these sort of like unlicensed versions of his work or something on Amazon. And instead of saying, take it down, he was like, let's create a store with them. Then they worked with other creators to do that, Annoying Orange, Shane Dawson, because people were just making, inspiration. They were inspired by the creators to make content. So they were like, let's all benefit from it. And Coke did a cool campaign where they've basically, seen their logo ripped off effectively throughout the world. And they, instead of saying, take it away or whatever, they really embraced it and went around to these small corners of the world and sort of used some of these like really kind of frankly butchered versions of their logo, and I think in some cases put it on their like some cans and this and that, and like that to me is actually like, again, sort of like if you not even squint, that's a version of like individual creator artists that you're sort of bringing things together. And like I feel like those kind of campaigns are in the right direction, and like now we need to work with like actual creators to like make these campaigns. So listen, I'm all about France. Let's go back next year. Invite us back, Cannes. We loved it, and we are excited to help you dive deeper into this category.
And I think what also just became totally relevant to me being there for the second year is that, Lauren, you and I, we'll give ourselves some credit.
Sure.
We predicted that creators, this ecosystem, was going to be the future of entertainment, which by and large it is. What I don't think any of us foresaw, at least back then, 10, 12, 15, 17 years ago, was that this ecosystem is not only the future of entertainment, but also the future of media, marketing, and advertising.
Yeah.
And I think seeing the, again, volume of conversation that was happening at Cannes among the top agencies, marketers, and advertisers in the world just goes to show you where this is all headed, and that creators are definitely the future of entertainment, media, marketing, and advertising.
Before we get on to a couple other stories, it was some big stories, I wanted to quickly talk about, you were in Denver before Cannes. Like, we didn't even talk about this. What were you in Denver for, Josh?
I was in Denver, and I was part of, I think, what is a very small, very rare, very exclusive group of individuals that made the Denver to Cannes connect.
Oh, yeah. No.
There's lots of conversation about the Cannes to Anaheim connect.
Right. Also known as the Cannes to Con. Get it? VidCon. Go on.
Yes, totally. We all get it. I was in Denver for StreamTV.
Okay.
Evan Shapiro, who calls himself a media cartographer, used to be, in his words, an overpaid television executive. Now he functions as a consultant and thought leader in that space that basically is telling television executives which way the wind is blowing, and does it in incredibly insightful, thoughtful, interesting, and funny ways. He had his own mini conference at StreamTV show called Evan Shapiro's Media Universe, which was really all about the future of television and what it looks like, speaking to a room full of television broadcasters.
So sorry, this was not part of StreamTV?
It was a mini show.
And what is StreamTV?
StreamTV show has been going on for many years, and it's a convention for a bunch of TV executives, everybody from the major networks, cable companies, production studios, the people that are facilitating distribution deals between all of these entities and newfangled distribution platforms, rights holders, and more. Really powerful people within what we all call now the legacy media space go there to figure out what's going to happen with the future of streaming television. And honestly, when Evan first asked me to come and speak there, I totally wanted to do it. I didn't know how useful it was going to be. But it turned out just the conversation that's happening in that space is increasingly relevant for people like us, because they're talking more and more about YouTube. And one of the most interesting takeaways I think I got from being there was that when you and I talk about YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, this new creator economy, we think of it as that's in one silo and kind of legacy media is in another silo, because that's the way it has been. Legacy media has viewed this ecosystem at worst as an enemy, and at best in the past as a begrudging ally.
I was going to say, or like a marketing companion, maybe.
Right. And now I think they're realizing that they have to play ball in a very friendly way because it's the future. YouTube now consumes over 12% of television consumption. You can't ignore this thing anymore. And all these individuals at these legacy media companies know this. So what I think the most fundamental shift we're going to see in the next 3 to 5 years is the makeup of the types of programming we see on YouTube, where right now and previously it's been dominated by independent kids programming, by foreign news networks, and by big creators, and very few legacy media companies. And now with the way that this ecosystem is evolving, it's not like Disney with its incredible brain trust and IP and all the very hardworking individuals that are there. It's not like they're just going to sit on the sidelines and not do anything, right? They haven't just been compelled to do anything in this ecosystem in a big way in the past, but they're going to have to start to, because they can't deny that it's there anymore.
Right.
So I think in the next 3 to 5 years, as consumption habits keep changing, the economics get a little bit better, at least a little bit more clear, we'll start to see original IP from these media companies start to just live on YouTube first and foremost too.
Okay.
So the top channels.
So we finally got there. That's your takeaway, is that their IP is going to.
That's my takeaway.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Thank you.
I like context. I'm a history major.
You're the one who tells me I go up on tangents. Please. I mean, that's. Jeez. So what the hell were you talking about there? What did you?
So if I'm ever late for a podcast recording and I need to buy a little bit of time, I'll just ask Lauren how she knows someone. And then she goes into like a canonical history of this person, the camps they went to, the religions of their grandparents. It's fascinating. Who they dated.
Yeah.
The camps of the people who they dated.
Yeah,
it's wild. It's insane. So again, if you're looking to buy some time with Lauren Schnipper, just ask her if she knows somebody. You're going to get 15 minutes to a good 2 hours. It's a big pro tip. You're welcome.
Okay.
You can thank me later.
Okay. Let's get to some big stories. So YouTube made a ton of announcements, especially during Cannes. And so let's get into some of them. One of the big announcements coming out of Cannes is YouTube has announced something called Open Call. So this new feature lets brands put out an open call for creators, as the name would indicate, to make UGC for their latest campaigns. So companies can just go to Brand Connect's Creator Partnerships Hub and publish a brief with their campaign details. And then interested creators can scroll through the opportunities in their sort of, their part of the hub and respond with potential video content. And so on YouTube's blog post, Open Call gives creators of all sizes the opportunity to pursue new relationships with brands, lean on the relevance and trust of YouTube creators to get more of your social strategy on YouTube. Melissa, I'm going to pronounce her last name incorrectly, C, I think, Nikolak, Director of Product Management at YouTube. With the thriving creator economy, we're greatly invested in ways to help brands tap into the influence of YouTube creators. With our new open call feature, we are making it even easier for brands to identify and partner with the right creators that resonate with their audience at scale. So this is not a new type of feature. There's plenty of influencer marketing sort of platforms and companies out there that do these kind of open calls, if you want to call it that. Obviously, the platforms have all tried different iterations of this, never very successfully for various reasons, largely because from an internal priorities standpoint, they've never really been able to monetize it that well on the YouTube end or the platform side. And so without that, that's not a huge incentive to sort of make these kind of influencer marketing internal platforms that sort of robust. At least that's my working theory. That being said, should they make a robust, platform internally, could be an excellent resource for creators, because one of the things you're always looking at when you're sort of checking out these influencer marketing kind of third-party platforms is how many creators do you have on it? And many of them will say, oh, I've got 75, 100,000 creators on it, but all the creators are on YouTube. So if you can find and build something, on YouTube that allows for the right creators to sort of respond to your brief, that's great. Now, of course, you're going to get inundated with stuff that is not great. So you've got to make sure there's thresholds and that there's checks and balances, so you're not getting like thousands and thousands of terrible submissions, etc. But ostensibly, this is a really good thing. Thoughts, Josh?
So I was able to talk with Melissa about this at Cannes and came back with a few interesting takeaways. One, to your point of getting inundated with entries from creators, YouTube understands that. They really want to create an ecosystem and environment for this open call that is best for all parties. So you don't want to see brands get inundated with submissions that they don't want.
Yep.
You don't want to see creators do a ton of work that they're not going to get credit for, and then get pissed off at YouTube, at the brand, at this whole process because they put a lot of time, energy, and effort into creating something for the brand that later doesn't get selected. So they're tackling that issue from two different vantage points. One is just best practices for how to work with open call. And the other way is to basically target a specific list of creators that hit certain types of demos, certain types of content verticals, certain types of viewership thresholds, maximums or minimums that the brand would want, so that the brand can really just focus on presumably creators that at least meet the metrics-based thresholds that it's looking for. So hopefully that will create this environment that makes it really efficient to use this open call system. And then to your point, this hasn't really worked for lots of platforms in the past because there hasn't been a huge incentive to do it, because the platforms don't make as much money from this as they do selling display advertising.
Correct.
Which is also way easier to sell and way more scalable.
Yep.
YouTube here just happens to be in an interesting position where they're using this, one, to make money, but two, YouTube's in this position now where they've lost market share in terms of short form creators to TikTok and Instagram because they got started so late and didn't have an environment that was really conducive to lots of short form content creation. So they really need to level that up. And one way to level that up is convincing creators that they can potentially make some money from posting short form content there. What this also has the benefit of is lots of short form content, especially sponsored short form content you see on YouTube, doesn't originate on YouTube. We see this all the time with Gospel Stats, where we discover this short form sponsored videos on YouTube, but they actually originated on Instagram or on TikTok. That was where the primary deal was for that creator.
Right.
And then they use YouTube as another distribution platform. What I think this open call will help, is to make YouTube the primary distribution platform for that piece of short form sponsored content that then can go to these other platforms too.
Right. And then also coming out of Cannes, brands know that this is the future and they have to work with creators. So YouTube wants to be the place where you can find the best creators. So now I think the market is in a place where it makes them, from an incentive structure standpoint, it makes a lot of sense for them to double down on this, because they want to be able to say to brands like, oh, you want to find the best creator? No, don't go use this third party. You just can come directly to YouTube. And then hopefully they're going to spend on YouTube because they're going to see such great results with the campaigns.
Right. And it's just for short form creators now. They will be rolling it out to long form content at some point in the near future. And one other takeaway I got from talking with Melissa is that this is not necessarily a tool for everyone.
Yeah.
They know that the MrBeast, Eric, Ryan Trahans, Michelle Carrés, Marquez Brownlees, et cetera of the world are going to do bespoke brand deals with big partners. this isn't for them. But this is a way for people in that like lower and middle class of creators to get access to brands that they may not normally have relationships with. And also for those brands to discover content creators that they may not normally know about. So one kind of like platonic ideal version of this is that the next brand cast, a brand like L'Oreal comes out with a creative director that they found through this open call process, and they show all the new videos that they've all made together and the new campaigns. It can create a really interesting environment for discovery, both on the brand side and the creator side too. That I think is ultimately just going to lead to a lot more deal flow in the space in general.
I want to just jump to quickly sort of a trend that we're seeing right now with regards to sort of creators in summer. Number one, TikTok has what they're calling summer camp on TikTok, where basically you can find, it's hashtag TikTok summer camp, and it's an initiative that spotlights crafty members of its community who can check out the hands-on activities they're doing that you would sort of see at a summer camp. I might argue go to summer camp. I sort of like where I'm sitting is like actually get out of your house and like go to summer camp. But if you can't, and some people can't, go on TikTok and you can see miniature Zen garden maker, Brandon, the plant guy, stargazer at home with Shannon, Firefly lantern builder, Dad's Life Jason, etc. Doing very cool sort of, again, camp-like activities from the TikTok newsroom post. These activities aren't just fun projects that give families a reason to gather around the table, share some laughs, and celebrate small wins together. They also create natural moments for families to discuss their online experiences and set healthy digital boundaries. I mean, that is like, what? Okay.
I think you're being a little jaded here, Lauren. I think if you discovered all of these videos that TikTok Summer Camp is highlighting through the original creator, maybe on Instagram or something, you'd be like, oh my God, I just found the best hack.
I get
Me
it.
and my kids made this thing.
I understand. I've been on the internet before. I find it funny when they're like, go on the internet and then discuss your internet boundaries. Okay.
But Lauren, so this TikTok Summer Camp isn't the only thing that's been announced for the summer. What I think we're seeing now, and that we haven't seen in other years, is just a flurry of recent announcements targeted towards kids right now at this time of year when they just got out of school.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also this Mark Rober and Toys and Colors collab.
Mm-hmm.
They are preparing for a summer of fun with kid-friendly activities. Mark Rober, obviously huge science and engineering YouTuber. Toys and Colors, one of the biggest kids channels on YouTube. And they're going to collaborate for, again, other similar summer activities that you can do with your kids at home. Pink Fog, also the company behind Baby Shark, and Shein, the fast fashion Chinese clothing manufacturer. They are collaborating to make Baby Shark themed apparel.
I mean,
which is wild. They're gonna have like 20-something different items.
I can't believe it took this long, by the way. Baby Shark.
That's true too.
Crazy.
And Cocomelon is joining forces with Sanrio's Hello Kitty for a new video series that is set to launch shortly. I think this is so cool how it's all timed to this part of the calendar year.
Sure.
It's so smart. I mean, it's been obvious in the past, but I don't think we've seen this flurry of announcements again that have targeted a younger demographic right around when they're getting out of school. It's interesting to see the industry kind of catch up to these kind of obvious trends and plan for them.
Do you remember when Beverly Hills 90210 almost didn't make it, and then they released it in the summer, and they were like, let's just give it one more chance, and like they released it on on the network during the summer, and then it blew up, and then the rest is history.
It was amazing.
It's a true story. Last but not least, lest you think you're not going to get a VidCon recap just because we didn't go to VidCon. Oh, no, my friends. Creator Upload does not disappoint. Our friend of the podcast who's been on many times, Phil Ranta, is going to pop in really quickly and give us his hot take on VidCon, what he saw there, the vibes, the trends, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Hello, everybody. It's Phil Ranta, the Chief Business Officer at Fixated, and your favorite guest host for the Creator Upload podcast. Lauren asked me to do a little bit of a recap of what I saw at VidCon that I thought was interesting, especially contrasting with Cannes, but I didn't get invited to Cannes like those big shots over at their big podcasts. So contrasting will be a little tough. But what I saw at VidCon this year, first of all, very few brands were there. Thank you, Cannes. A lot of biz dev, talent management and agencies, a lot of let's say mid-tier creators, which I guess is now defined as 100,000 followers to say 10 million because of the TikTokification of everything. So still found it very, very useful being on the management side. A lot of the panels at the very least touched on AI. And I'd say that there's a lot of strong feelings around it. Some people are anti, it will never do as well as humans will do. Some people are, it's a tool, don't worry about it, it'll create more jobs. Say there's a lot of people that have just a more level-headed approach, which is, we'll see, like the adoption's coming. It does feel like it's a pretty massive shift, but is it going to replace a lot of our content mix in a year, 5 years, 10 years? We got to keep testing and iterating, right? I think Peter Allen's actually had the best take on this, which is we have to stop thinking of AI as this end-to-end scary technology and just look at it as the collective knowledge of everything that it trained on, and then how can I use that to the best of my abilities? So I thought that was interesting. On the brand side, everybody's talking about impact. So a lot of people talking about the bottom of the funnel. A lot of people talking about affiliate marketing and what's happening in the shopping space. Really excited for new takes on those types of models where you no longer have to put links in the description box and it's just is happening over screen, as we're seeing with YouTube shopping and Meta and of course TikTok Shop. Also, there was just a shocking amount of talk about consolidation and investment and creator fintech. Right? I mean, we're seeing it. It seems like a week can't go by without either Chris Irwin or James Creech announcing that they helped with an M&A or investment opportunity. And I think there's a reason for that, right? There's a lot of consolidation happening because you need to have more people, more technological staff, more of that heft in order to compete in this really, really crowded market of influencer marketing and fast growing market, right? So a lot of talk about roll-ups. God, I can't even tell you how many people told me, hey, if you hear of any companies that are looking to sell for a reasonable price, let me know. And I'm like, cool. Talk to Chris Irwin, talk to James Creech. Breaking news or announcements. Shockingly little, it felt like. I mean, even on the YouTube keynote, it felt like they were kind of going over a lot of stuff that they've already talked about a fair amount. They are evolving their brand partnerships platform, which I think is good. They're still talking a lot about localization and dubbing with AI, which is great. The VO3 announcement is cool, but like, what is it? I have a hard time wrapping my head around. A lot of people talking about end-to-end AI ads and how that will increase effectiveness and take a lot of creative decisions that could require a lot of A/B testing and cost out of the equation. We'll see. I mean, when I see an AI ad, I'm usually like, ugh. So time will tell. But yeah, not really a lot of people, not like that one like Boffo crazy big announcement like we've seen in years past. What were the vibes? I mean, it was a little more chill this year, I would say. I liked that more creators were actually walking around the convention because the Creator Hotel wasn't there anymore. A lot of people say they missed the Creator Hotel, but I feel like those are the kind of people that were like seeking that exclusive experience. And for people that wanted a more accessible experience, I think this was a little better, right? I saw a lot more creators out in the wild, which is great. And I think that the fans really appreciated that. It's not like it was 10 years ago where a riot would start because a creator walked by, because there's just too many famous people now. But there was a lot of people really excited and walking up to a person one-on-one and asking for an autograph or a selfie. And that was really, really nice to see. It kind of felt like the beginnings of VidCon again. I felt like the panels were a little bit more open and honest. I think the industry day, yet again, for the second year in a row, was a lot of the best conversation I've seen. But I'm going to keep going to VidCon. Been going every time since 2012. I still love the convention and really excited for next year. Thanks, Creator Upload Podcast. Hi, Josh and Lauren.
Thank you so much, Phil. I appreciate you coming on as always. Next year, hopefully they will not be during the same weekend, Cannes and VidCon, so we can all go to everything.
Yeah, Phil, sorry to miss you. Thanks for the recap.
Josh, I think we did it.
Lauren, I think that's it. I'll see you managing your own summer camp where you just show people the trends you learned on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. Being like, hey, we should do one of these things.
All while wearing shades.
And the thought there next week, or actually we're off next week. Have a happy July 4th. We'll see you in 2 weeks here on Creator Upload. Today's show was produced by Lauren Schnipper, Joshua Cohen, that's me, and Adam Connor. It's edited by Adam Connor too. Original music is by London Bridge. You can check him out on Instagram at London Bridge Music. Make sure you subscribe to Creator Upload right here on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, as well Spotify, or wherever you're listening. While you're there, give us a rating and leave us a comment. If you want to talk, hit us up at info@creatorupload.com. If you like our show, recommend it to a friend. If you love it, just tell everyone. Thanks for listening to Creator Upload, and we will be back next week.